Hi, everyone, and welcome to She's Got Game, brought to you by Exposure and Spot on Sports. I am your moderator for tonight, Chanel Starling, and I have a bunch of amazing, dope Black women with me tonight. I'm joined by Angie Thomas. She's from the Second Half Sports. Courtney Goodson, CEO of Power Media. Ashley Ursuri, she is the compliance coordinator for UTSA. Sequoia Hood of Spot on Sports, and Megan Glover, who's a sports reporter for KLAX 31. So, hi, ladies. How are you today? How are we doing? How are we feeling?
Hey, I'm doing
Hey,
Hi,
feeling good.
Chanel. We're excited.
I hope everybody is ready for all this Black girl magic, because that's what we're giving tonight for the first series and second series, which is directly following this. But I did want to start with just speaking about the challenges that Black women in the sports industry go through, whether it's the industry or the workplace. So if anybody wants to talk about like what you think the biggest challenge that we face in the workplace or the industry is.
For me, it's the opportunities for women, having worked in a male-dominant organization pretty much my entire adult life, and then coming to the sports world, which is also considered a male-dominant organization. They don't view us as their equal. For me, when I talk about sports, like I grew up watching football, and when they start talking about uh, the line of scrimmage, or when they start talking the lingo, and I say something, they go, and they start laughing. I'm like, what's so funny? It's like, it's funny coming from you. And I get that a lot. I'm just like, nah. Or sometimes when I have to do an on the spot correction with them, because I'm a historian also, I love the history. And they'll be like, what do you know? So for me, they don't view us as their equal. And what we do isn't as good as them because they're men. It's a male dominant organization.
I think
And I guess,
thanks, Sequoia. I think along with what Angie said is not only that, but also once you get there, feeling like you belong and establishing yourself as well. So, okay, it's like, hey, I gave you this opportunity. Now I'm here. I personally, I feel like I can't mess up. I don't want to give them that satisfaction that you can't do something, or that you're less than, or you can't meet the expectation because you're a female, or I'm not, you can't move up from that standpoint. For me, it's, hey, like, you're here, you have to establish street cred, is what I call it, in a sense, for them to really like take you serious, establish yourself that way, and being stern without coming off as an angry Black woman. For me,
That's good.
That's up, but I also, someone told me, don't ever let anyone get you down to your basement self. So I was like, okay, like that, but I can't really show it because I'm not gonna come off as an angry Black woman. But I'm also gonna, let's try to handle it with grace and figuring it out from that point of view.
Right. I think that as far as what you said, the angry Black woman, that we can get that so easily when we're not angry at all. We're not even being aggressive. It's that we are doing something that they are not used to. We're speaking up for themselves, because if I talk to my parents or, my aunts or my uncles back then, like a while ago, they weren't used to women sticking up for themselves. So now when it happens, it's like, this is not what you're supposed to do. This is aggressive. I feel like you're being angry. Well, it's like, no, I have to work twice as hard just to get something that you're getting, or even a little bit less than what you're getting. We have to work twice as hard. Sequoia, you were going to say something. I cut you off a little bit.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to piggyback pretty much of what Angie was saying, was as far as like us really getting that opportunity to, showcase what it is that we have, or our knowledge, or whatever it is of that matter. Just like what she said, if I'm talking about sports, whether I'm talking about basketball or football, and I worked in athletics through college and everything, and everybody look at me like, what do you know? You just, you're a pretty girl. You don't know nothing about sports. I played sports my entire life. I know sports. Why can't I be as credible as the guy next to me? And instead of just being in that moderator position where I'm just a host of a show, I have an opinion as well. How come we have to, just stay in that lane and not be credible for what we're saying?
Right, and I'm going to pretty much Sequoia, because I think we have to realize as Black women realize that the patriarchy nature of sports media in general. So we're already at a disadvantage in that area, in that respect. Media depict women athletes just in general in sports. They depict them as women first and then athletes, as opposed to with men, they depict men, oh, they're athletes, So when you're talking about sports, when women athletes are being athletes are being depicted in the media, they're depicted as, they're recognized by their family life, by their looks, appearances. And with men, they're depicted as strong and independent, powerful. And so when you think about it, when you talk about women in sports media, I mean, look at what already in the sports industry, how big of a disadvantage we're already, experiencing and seeing right now. So, talking about challenges that we're facing right now, we're already at a disadvantage in sports media because we're dealing with it with women athletes already. So we have to work twice as hard as women athletes do to really overcome challenges in this area. So,
and I agree. And someone said something about being taken seriously, and that even happens when we talk about the NBA versus the WNBA. We talk about how can we get how can we get fans to get interested in the WNBA rather than how do we get them equal opportunity? So, and it kind of sounds like that's the conversation even in media, in sports media. So how can we change, like what has to change in order for women to be taken more seriously or respected in sports? Because I know with the WNBA, they have, they need more funding, they need people to watch it more. But as far as women, Black women in media, what has to change in order for us to be taken seriously?
I'll start this one. Personally, I don't even think it's us. I think we need to continue doing our part, continue the confidence and the crown that we hold, continue working hard. But I think we also need that fire from our counterparts. I know we'll touch on it a little later, but with the whole Maria Taylor situation, you saw how everybody in the industry, I'm not everybody, but a lot of people in the industry, they went to bat for her. And I think when it comes to situations like that, and just, every day us doing our job, or the WNBA, the people or the organizations that don't get the respect they deserve, I think it's our counterparts and those that we work with that need to do their part in making sure that we get the respect that we deserve.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not in media, but I'm in college athletics, and it's the same thing. In a sense, so it's not about us. We're doing a really good job, and a bunch of statistics came out in surveys just with my field and how many women versus male are at the higher level. And you see there's a lot of females at the mid-level and the entry level, but as soon as you get to the senior level and executive level, vice president, athletic director position, you see a lot less female and even a lot less women of color in that position. So you can tell, okay, we want to hire you. Oh, but we're not going to get to that top part. So it takes someone from the top, the athletic director's level, the vice president's level, to be able to hire within their cabinet so that they can diversify the field as well. So if they're not diversifying from the top, because we all know how it goes, you're going to hire someone who looks like you 9 times out of 10, you are. So if everyone at your cabinet looks the same, 9 times out of 10, if they're not stepping outside the box or consciously thinking or diversifying hiring candidate pool or diversifying their search committees, you're not going to get a lot of different people to be able to break that glass ceiling or to get over that hump. You're just good enough to do this and you're bomb at it. However, I see someone else, I think that'd be a better fit. And some of them consciously do it and some of them unconsciously do it. But it takes someone like us to step up and say, hey, do you notice this is happening? And we have to have those moments when they have those safe space moments. Hey, safe space. We're hiring this, but have you noticed that we have a bunch of female sports and we don't have a female coach for this? Or have you noticed you don't have any people of color at your cabinet position? Have you noticed that your last 3 candidates for your final 3 that you brought here are all the same person? Same white male that went to the same school? You might not have saw it, but had you had a diverse school or diverse search committee, somebody might would have caught that.
And I think that that's important for Black women to start being in these positions where we can make change. It's just like what's happening now. We need people that are in the government to make these changes that, we need attorney generals that look like us, that share our views to make these change. And I say that, and I want to ask Courtney, because she is CEO of a production company, of a media company. And I just want to know, what challenges do you face being in an executive, the highest executive position in your company? What challenges do you face on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I mean, with any CEO position in any company, you're gonna face challenges as far as, as far as, how can I put it? Um, let's see. In any company as a CEO, you're gonna have your different challenges. But as a Black woman in this space of media, media and communications, I think that, to answer your question, I think that it starts with the mindset. Because if you embrace the notion that you're gonna face challenges and you accept that, it's just gonna make it 10 times harder on you, especially as someone who's at the highest of a production or media and communications company. So for me personally, I try to not embrace the notion that I'm going to face challenges. I just deal with them as they come. Because you're gonna deal with all types of things. I mean, I've dealt with, when you talk about racial differences, when you talk about, as far as experiences, differing experiences between me and other people. I think that I don't really, for mine, I think it's the mindset that you take when you think about the challenges you're going to take. You almost have to put your bootstraps on and say, okay, boom, I'm head of this company, but I'm not going to let any typical challenges that anyone else will face. I'm just going to embrace that process. I'm just going to embrace whatever comes my way. So when I look at it, I don't really look at it as, any specific challenge that I see. I haven't personally had any specific challenges as a Black woman, as a CEO of my company, that anyone else hasn't experienced, in any other position of a company. I just take it as it comes, so.
I mean, I think that what's so amazing about this conversation is that everyone has different roles in sports. So, we talk about media a lot, and we talk about, reporting and anchoring and things like that. But Ashley, like, you're on the other side of it. Like, you are working with athletes, you're working with the conference. So you see a completely different, you have a completely different experience than, us that are in the media. So would you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I work a lot with the student athletes hand in hand, the incoming student athletes who are being recruited, and I have the pleasure with compliance of being able to touch points with almost every department, from maintenance to facilities to sports med and academic advising within the whole athletic department. So it's a bit different of finding that balance with your student athletes, along with finding your balance with your coaches, along with that touch point to be able to communicate with your athletic director as well. So I think the challenge is making sure there's someone at the table that's advocating for you. Is there someone that I feel like that I trust that's going to have my back and that's going to advocate for me? There's not a lot of women of color where I am now. However, I'm just like, okay, well, I still need to make sure that I'm that representation, I'm that voice. And I think when I first got to one of my schools, a student athlete came into my office, talking, chatting it up, meeting them, and they're just like, hey, I think you're the first Black person I met here. Like the first Black, I met here in this office. I was like, okay, well, that solidified why I'm here. I question why I'm there sometimes, because things happen. It's college athletics. Like, junk hits the fan all the time, and I'm in compliance, so that's a lot of fun too. But okay, this is another reason why I'm here, is representation, to see someone that I look like them as well. And that's how I got in the position that I'm in, is because I seen Black ladies that look like me in the positions that I want to be in the future. So just taking those and being able to navigate it with grace, but be fierce at the same time, and just to hold your own. And it can be a lot, but at the same time, just having someone advocate for you and making a way and getting a seat at the table. And once I have a seat at that table, to make sure that my voice is heard at that table. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is making sure my voice is heard and not being afraid to say something. I started off about it, and kind of just, I seen stuff, I kind of said something, but not as stern, but then I finally got comfortable enough and develop relationships with people, because it's important to develop relationships with everyone, because they have to help you break those glass ceilings too. And I was like, okay, this is what I think and this is what I want to say. And I started feeling a lot more comfortable coming to them with different things that I thought would be helpful, or that I saw that I was like, okay, this is how I can be supported in this way, and this is what I want to do. How can you help me? So that's was a huge like barrier breaker, and a couple of different things that you face within that position, also being taken seriously.
Absolutely. And I think that you said a seat at the table. I think that's so important, especially now. I know I see more of us coming together more. It's not really a competition. It's a competition within itself, but it's not really, we don't have the crabs in a barrel type of mindset when it comes to women in sports. That's what I'm seeing as far as like personally. I see that we're helping each other more when we have panels, we're reaching out to people. When we see job opportunities that may not fit us, but it may fit someone we know, we're sending them out. And I say that to say, because Megan does that all the time. Like you do an amazing job with connecting women in sports, whether it's, they don't always have to be Black, but you do a great job with, hey, I saw this. Hey, I know someone who, does what you do, or hey, join this group chat. So Megan, I want to ask you, like, how important is it, or how can we make sure we're making or creating an easier path for the generation that's coming behind us?
That's funny because I literally sent somebody a job opportunity before we went live. I think, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Like, how can we create an easier path for, Black women or just women in sports in general? What do we have to do to create an easier path for them?
I think it's just simply all about the uplift and the support. Like we've been talking about since we've been on here, we work in an industry where we're not seen as the dominant, and it's the best thing that we can do for each other is to support and uplift each other. So, well, I mean, what bad is it going to do me if I see a job opportunity or something that I know would help my sister out? Because that's the thing that makes me happy, is that I want to see you win at the end of the day. And I think that's the mentality that we just need to build in our minds. We say, oh, we support women in sports. We definitely support Black women in sports and X, Y, and Z. What are we doing in our industry to make sure that we mean what we say?
Anybody want to piggyback off that? I know that's like a broad subject.
They pretty much kind of hit it on the nail, like hit it right there on the nail. And I honestly think too, taking those young ladies in underneath our wing, mentorship, even if they just have questions or just want to watch you while you work or anything like that, just try to help with, mentorship, because at times it's hard for us, especially to break into the industry. And once we're in, knowing, who to turn to and who to look at, and some of our other female counterparts, if we relate differently as a Black woman in sports. For one, from our hair to our makeup, our looks, like everything. So being able to help mold that young journalist or that young anchor or whatever it is that she wants to do in sports, I think that will be one way to kind of help push that initiative to help out our young and up and coming broadcasters.
Absolutely. And sorry, go ahead, Mike.
My bad, just to add on that, you really never realize how much you might have made someone's day when you do that. We hear so many stories about maybe someone who hit you up in the DM and y'all, you built this relationship, and maybe they get their first job and then they come back and say, it was all because you answered my question, late at night or something like that. That, that's the type of stuff personally that makes my day.
And I think specifically with Black women, it's just how genuine, for the most part, like we're so genuine, like we genuinely want to see, because we've been, the underdog for so long, that we genuinely love to see when our counterparts are doing something, that we haven't seen a Black woman do before. So I think that, it's just being genuine and actually wanting to help. And I say that to say, because like when I do panels, or if I do, if I'm doing something, I genuinely want to help the people coming after, because no one wants to have this struggle. Like, we don't want to have to ask to be treated equally. So like, why wouldn't I do all that I can to make sure that whoever's coming after me, they don't have to go through it. And then you spoke about, breaking into the industry. I would like to know, what was your breakthrough moment? And anyone can kind of answer this. As far as industry, like, where do you feel like what was your breakthrough moment in the industry, you feel like?
I guess I'll start. What's funny is that I kind of fell into the industry my 9th grade year in high school. I was an athlete all throughout middle school and high school. And when I was in the 9th grade, I was gonna play basketball, and I decided to change. I changed my mind and decided to run track. So my schedule needed to be changed. And so when they changed my schedule, I think my mom wanted to put me in some elective class, which I was fine with, whatever class it was, but I know it wasn't broadcast journalism. But the next day I came to school, and they accidentally put me into an advanced broadcast journalism class. And so that class was only for seniors. Mind you, I'm a freshman that year. And so I ended up being in the class. I tried it out. I had never thought about sports media broadcasting, communications, anything like that. So I thought maybe this might be like a fun elective just to get me by. Electives, that's what you want to do, get by in high school. So I ended up really liking the class, and somehow in the middle of the year, my freshman year, something happened to the senior who was head of sports. And so I just took the rest of that year to really try to fall into that role and try to learn as much as I could in sports, as far as sports media goes. And I ended up being head of sports all 3 years, the remainder of my time in high school. And so that was my breakthrough moment that initially got me into the door. I had an amazing professor, someone who believed in me and who taught me any questions that I had. I really had to become a student, and a student of the industry, a student of the game, to try to learn about the media side of sports, because I was already an athlete, but I had no idea what I was doing as far as like interviewing people and things of that nature. So I had someone who was able to nurture me and, guide me through that process. But that was my breakthrough moment in the sports media industry.
Well, for me, it was kind of like by default, I guess. Growing up, I always loved sports. That was my dad's way of spending quality time with me. So it kind of like I fell into it. And then as I got older, as a young teenager, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't Pam Oliver, because I wanted to
That's
be
the OG.
Yeah, I wanted to be Pam Oliver so freaking bad, right? So like then I graduate high school, and then I go to college, and I didn't even major in journalism. I majored in accounting, but my roommate was in communications, and I would write all of her papers. Like,
okay.
It's like, you know what? You're in the wrong field, right? So, and I could, I would sit up and I would watch the games or whatever. And then I went into the military and I became a broadcaster, and that was my field. So I started doing everything, in front of the camera, behind the camera. They even had me doing play-by-play, which I was horrible at. But the interview part, I really liked it. And when they started to allow me to do the All Army Sports, the post sports interviews and so forth, I was comfortable with it and I loved it. When I got into the civilian world, my breakthrough for a while was at USA Today. And I did an article and it got published, and then they called me up where they wanted me to work part-time. And then they tell me, well, this is temporary, I'm like, okay, that's cool, whatever. And then maybe like for like 6 or 7 months, they say, well, now it's time. We're going to have to let you go. So, other opportunities, I was getting the interviews, but no callbacks. And they kept, and I would check to see who got the position. It was always the guys. So that prompted me to just do my own thing and say, you know what, I'm going to make it regardless,
And I think that's so interesting. Was someone going to say something?
Yeah, I'm saying Angie just pretty much spoke to me when she just told her story. Absolutely. That is the story 100%. Like just growing up and playing sports pretty much my entire life. I played basketball, volleyball, soccer. I cheered, I ran track. And I also in high school, I was a part of our Cardinals News Network. So I did like our broadcasting and announcements and stuff like that. So once I got to college, I was like, I want to do something within sports. I don't know, it's it's hard to really break into because so many people want to do it. It's not really demanding,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was more so just hanging out in the communication building and talking to a lot of people. And then I got a gig with the football team, and I didn't realize how it was a lot of work. And I was one of the videographers for the football team. So I had to film practice and games. So I'm there between, the two-a-days and the football camp and all of that. So I'm traveling with the team and I'm working with them and, doing stuff like that. And to the point where I get my own sports show with 2 guys. And then I become an intern with ESPN Radio in Houston. And so, things were going on up and up, but then just solidifying that exact position for you where you feel as though, okay, I'm here, I'm, wanted as a person and they're going to pay me. And so I interned a long time until I'm like, okay, I can't intern anymore. I'm about to graduate. No one's offering a full-time position right now. And so it kind of discouraged me a lot because I'm like, this is my dream. This is what I wanted to do for the longest. And so after college, you move and you gotta, what you about to do? So you go and get you go get a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's still my passion in my heart. And I still apply for many different things. I had, a couple interviews and things, but, I go back and check who got the position or, they didn't really even give me that opportunity. It's either a female from a different background or
Mm-hmm.
it's a male. And that's really discouraging. And I just, pretty much want to tell a lot of, African-American women, like, you can really keep going because we really are a prize. And it's really discouraging at times. And I guess my other breakthrough moments when I reached out to Tony, met him through Joy and, joined Spot on Sports. And with Spot on Sports, it's been wonderful because I see nothing but like a lot of people that looks like me. A lot of my brothers, my sisters that look like me, and we're doing things. When I met Danny Martin, I was blown away. I'm still blown away every time I talk to Danny because he's somebody that looks like me, and I see his vision, and I see where you started from, and I see where you at now, and I still can see where where you're going. So I guess breakthrough moments is kind of different because I still feel as though I'm at the point where I'm not all the way there yet, where I want to be. But at the same time, when I take a step back and reflect on like just me telling you guys this, I'm proud of myself to be where I'm at now.
Sequoia, it's the same. You just told my whole story.
Yeah.
Yes. It's frustrating because like you get to the point where you're interning, you finish grad school and they find something else because they know they want you around, but like there's nothing else around. But then you're also training people to help them, but then they get something before you. So it's frustrating. So you feel like a professional interviewer at this point. Like, are you just keeping around because you can and I'm kind of good at it, but like you don't have to pay me that much? And I felt like I got to that like breakthrough moment. And I was telling Chanel this yesterday a little bit and Megan that I thought I got to that breakthrough moment and I'm interviewing at a school and it's going well. I was already sold on it before the in-person interview, loved the location until I had a meeting with the athletic director. And it was at that moment where I learned my worth and learned, like I was talking to the athletic director and the way he was talking to me and the questions that he asked, I knew that if he asked that to a male or a white female, a white male, you wouldn't ask that. It was just out of line, borderline, pretty disrespectful, and I had to step away from it. I was like, this was my moment. This is what I wanted. I could have ran this department, everything that I wanted, like everything, but then you have to step away from it because it's not everything that it seemed because you didn't value me as a Black female to run this department as I wanted to. You wouldn't have questioned me this way. You wouldn't have spoke to me this way. and you don't trust me this way to lead your department, you want to be almost like a handler at that point to bring a leash, I guess, on you. So I thought I had my moment, but then I, rolled back, said, well, that's not my time yet. So to keep thriving and building catalogs and to continue to be really good at what I am with my student athletes and coaches I have now.
Yeah,
I think that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Courtney.
Oh no, I was just getting ready to say, y'all all made the same point as, I was just here listening to you guys. I mean, when you talk about breakthrough moments, like, as you can see, I went to my first time, my initial time that I went into it. Still to this moment, I also don't feel like I've had that breakthrough moment yet. I mean, I just kind of gave you an idea of how I got into it. But I mean, when you talk about the endless amount of time I've dedicated to internships all throughout high school, working 3 jobs, not getting paid, just trying to be a student of the game. So I'm working another or 2 jobs. I started Power Media right after I graduated from high school because I was tired of being told no. And so, even when I just recently went to ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut to work as a production assistant, I left 2 months later. And a lot of people would look at that and be like, are you crazy? Like, that's your dream, that's a dream job for some people. And initially I thought it was my dream job, but I realized that wasn't my breakthrough moment either. It's like I'm still trying to find what is that moment. And I think it also has to do with, how it makes you feel and what's aligned with your purpose, And so I totally agree with y'all. I don't, I'm still not to that moment yet. Somebody might look at my track record and be like amazed, like you were talking about, but I'm not there yet. I know I'm not there yet.
And I think you guys said like some amazing things. I think that your breakthrough moment sometimes can be knowing your worth. Knowing when to walk away can be a breakthrough moment. You know what I mean? Like, yes, this is a big company, but I'm not going to, put my happiness second. This is not what I want to do. So I know my worth. This job isn't paying me enough. This, athletic director is, disrespecting me. So I'm going to walk away from something that, other people might not be as strong enough to walk away from it. So I do think breakthrough moments can come, just knowing your worth. And I think with women in sports, Black women in sports specifically, we are so hard on ourselves sometimes because we know what we can do. And I think that sometimes, it's okay to take a step back and, be thankful for, where you are. And, sometimes I have to look to myself and say, hey, you dream to be where you are, even though you're not, you've grown up, so your dreams are different. I'm saying? The ceiling is way different than what it was 2 years ago. The ceiling is way different than what it was last year. But, it's like getting stuck in between that, being grateful and then not settling. And I feel like, as women, and especially women in sports, we are like we're in that area all the time because we're so happy to be where we are, but we're like, no, there's more. So I think that's super important for us to remember, like, we might not have had a breakthrough, we might not be at the job that we, want to be, but, we're not where we were, and we're going and we're thriving in an industry that for the most part does not want us to thrive, but we're still thriving. And I think that's super important for us to remember. We do have to wrap up. This was amazing. You guys were so great. For everyone that's watching, we'll put all your social media handles and, where they can find you and follow you in the comments and details under this video. Thank you guys so much for joining us. The second series is going to be directly after this, moderated by Sequoia. And they're just gonna talk about the social justice and less talk, more action. So make sure you guys tune in for that, which is happening in about 5 minutes.
All right, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Chanel.
No problem. You guys are awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
I am Sequoia Hood with Spot on Sports, and welcome back, and welcome to our second series of the Women in Sports. She's Got Game, Women in Sports series discussion. I'm sorry, guys. In this series, it is entitled Let's Talk and More Action. So in the light of all the social injustices and inequalities that's been going on throughout the country, where do we go from here at this point? So today I am joined by a panelist of wonderful, beautiful ladies here within the sports industry, starting with my two Spot on Sports sisters, Miss Joy Bivens, a sports journalist, and we have Miss Mia White, a sports anchor. And next we have Miss Jocelyn Lassiter. She is a news anchor with NTTV. And last but not least, well, we have two left, Miss Chanel Starlink and Miss Courtney Smith, and they're both our content creators with ESPN. So hello, ladies, welcome, and thank you guys for joining us today. So how are y'all feeling?
Hello.
Great.
Everybody feeling good?
Yeah.
All right, but on a more serious note, social inequality and systematic racism is something that the people of color have been dealing with and pretty much fighting for as long as we can remember, and even before we can remember. And it's clear to say that this year was the year that we reached our peak with saying enough is enough. You know, starting with the slaying of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd that sparked protests throughout the entire world. It seemed as though we were taking a few steps forward in seeing a progress and seeing possible change. But every time we take those steps forward, we always do push back several. So with that being said, I would like to start our first topic off with your opinions and your thoughts on the grand jury's verdict with the Breonna Taylor's case. So Ms. Joy, you can go ahead and start going off.
No problem. With that case, I honestly and truly believe that they, instead of making it about her, they made it about a hole in a wall. It wasn't about her any longer. And it made me feel as a Black woman that my life isn't worth a charge for someone to be arrested, for any type of justice to be done, because you gave more about a wall than you did for a Black woman's life. And on top of that, just right before that verdict came out, you paid the family $12 million, but yet I can't get a guilty verdict for a murder. Make it make sense. It doesn't coincide with each other. So it's hard because as being a woman already, we've already trying to outdo or become level to a man, and then it's just being a Black woman, it's just like, all right, you got to work 10 times harder. And just seeing that, it just seemed like a slap in the face.
Yeah, no, Joy, I definitely like completely agree with everything you said. And honestly, just the fact that they were only able to arrest one of the officers, like that is what had me messed up from the jump. That was like, all of y'all were there, right? All of y'all had
All
a
y'all were there.
But only one of them, was ever even arrested and was ever even fired to begin with. So, it just really shows the lack of compassion and the lack of empathy and just the lack of care for women of color, for Black women. Like it just really, and for the Attorney General of Kentucky to be a Black man, like that just makes it just makes it so much worse. And like I don't know how he's gonna be able to sleep at night. Like I genuinely don't, because he has to know that this isn't right. And I believe that there is something in the works. That guy got something in the works, and he gonna make sure that everybody is accounted for. And at this point, I just feel like that's all we can do. We can continue to make as much noise. We continue to protest. We continue to do everything. But at the end of the day, some of these things in this country are just going to be what they are. And as frustrating as it is, like, I've definitely found that, like, we, especially as Black women, we need to be taking our mental health very seriously during this time, because this stuff can definitely affect you. And, we still all have jobs at the end of the day. We still have to go and carry on our lives at the end of the day. So even though we're angry and we're frustrated, we have to find a way. And, there are outlets like this for us to be able to talk with one another, to be able to handle it, because it is a lot.
Yeah, and I think with me, like when it happened, we knew, like in the back of our mind, we knew what was going to happen, but it's something about it actually coming out and actually happening that like messed me up. Because I was just like, wow, like, we talked about like, oh, they're not going to get charged, like they're just, but for it to actually happen and for what the charges were, it was just like, they're just literally playing in our face. And it kind of hurt me more, because it was just like watching the sports world, rally behind her. And
it's 8 o'clock.
Like seeing the biggest people in sports and in the world, like rally behind her. And it's just like, it doesn't matter. Like, I was like speechless. And then we have to get up. And like Courtney said, we have to go to work, and we have to look at, we have to work with, people that don't look like us, and, be angry, but still smile on Zoom, smile at work and act like nothing happened. And, that's what kind of messed me up the most.
I think for me, to kind of piggyback off of what Sequoia said, you think society has made a step forward in different aspects of life, and then we have this situation happen every other month or every month, and that just shows you we haven't made progress at all in any area of life.
I say, to piggyback off of what Courtney said about the Attorney General, I think it's very bold for him to go on camera and try to bring out these fake tears that we as Black women, as Black people, are supposed to believe, because he definitely got criticized for it. And like Sequoia said, all Black folks, all your skin folks ain't your kin, all your kin folks ain't skin folks. So it's just, it goes back to like, how can you as a Black man sit here and try to basically ridicule this young woman's life and go on camera and like, as a Black man, I feel your pain. That's crazy, because as a Black man, you're also supposed to be seeking justice for her, but you're not. You didn't even decide to bring murder charges to the guys. And that's the part that makes me so angry. Like, I'm shaking at this point, but that's the part that makes me so angry, because it's like, how can you have this big platform? You are the first Attorney General of Kentucky, but yet you still act like the Uncle Tom for the white people. I don't understand it. I would never understand it. And I just think people around him, you could tell he's, for goodness sake, he's marrying the granddaughter of Mitch. So it's like, how can we trust somebody? Well, how can the people of Kentucky trust you? And there's an article out about people are saying, like, people in Kentucky are saying, we voted for you. Like, we were trying to make history for this state. Yeah, this is the way you repay us, like, by not seeking justice for somebody that looks like you. So I think it makes the whole, we need to vote, go a bit harder and further than, especially with the people that are dealing with this type of things and these tragic situations of Black women and Black males being killed in their state, and their attorney generals, their people in power are not doing anything about it. So I think that's just one of the things I just found that I was like, look, I could have contacted him myself, but I don't have his information. But you know, I just thought that was just crazy, and that was disgusting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with the attorney general situation, and like you said, he was the first Black guy. He's that token guy. He's the guy that they say, you could talk to the Black people, but you're going to listen and do what we say, do.
Right.
You know, and when you're that only Black person in that type of position, and I'm not giving him any type of excuses because he don't deserve any. No. But what I'm saying is, when you're that token Black person in those type of positions, you're going to do whatever they tell you. And because it took you probably forever, your whole entire career, to get to that point. But what you say does not matter. And it's really sad to see, because like they said, the Black woman is the most disrespected woman on the planet, the most disrespected human on the planet. If you really want to get there, and people want to yell and scream, you know, protect Black women. But clearly with this verdict, it kind of pretty much just showed us the way the world view Black women, you know. And when they say protect Black women, I just want to know, to you guys, like to you all ladies, what does that look like to you? What does protecting Black women look like?
For me, it's being able to advocate, especially in situations where they need maybe physical protection, but it's being able to advocate and also being able to educate them. You know, and that starts when we are little Black girls, being able to educate us on different things, because little girls turn into adult women. And so you have to be able to advocate for them and educate them as well.
I think for me, one of the biggest things is, you know, are you holding the other men around you accountable when you're hearing them speak, you know, negatively and speak disrespectfully to Black women, about Black women? Are you checking them? Because that is a good way that you can protect a Black woman when they're not even around. Are you stepping up and saying, nah, don't say that, like, that doesn't fly with me? Are you, you know, distancing yourself from people that do think like that? I think that's a major step that more men can be doing.
I definitely agree. It takes me back to a story about a Black woman who was being, I guess, harassed by racist white neighbors. And you had people that was coming out, that was driving from wherever they was coming from long miles, to sit in front of her house overnight and watch her house. That is what protecting a Black woman is about. It was white men, it was Black men. Like, that's what it all comes down to, because I don't know, I feel like sometimes we can be invisible. I feel like sometimes we can be, how can I put this? A gateway to, it's a word that I'm looking for. It's gonna come to me. Give me time. Like, it's gonna come to me later. But I just feel like that was one situation. It really opened my eyes to a lot of things, as far as, because I'm not gonna lie, I've never been in a situation like that before, where I've had racists come to me or harass me or attack me or feel like I'm beneath them. So for that, it really opened my eyes to saying, dang, this is what it's like to have protection as a Black woman. This is what it's like, especially with social media around. Like, let's think about it. Nobody would have never known had it not been for social media. Like, when you put it out there, you see your allies come out. You see those that you thought were allies that are not really allies. They're just doing it for the public. They're doing it for showboating. So it's just, I think protecting, it's not necessarily like, I guess you could say, what, as far as physical appearance, I think it's more of what would you do if you were in my shoes? Or what, like I ask my white allies all the time, I'm like, are you doing this because we're friends? Or are you doing this because this is really how you feel? And that's one of the things I had to really sit down and talk to my white allies or white friends about that are in the same position as me, that have went on, made it in their career. And when all this was going on, I had to say to myself, like, y'all are really quiet. Like, sometimes you have to call out your white friends, and you have to say, what is your take on this? Sometimes you just have to go out on a limb and say, well, how do you feel about this? Hey, with the whole Breonna Taylor situation, I said, are you just saying it because it sounds good? Or are you saying it because this is really how you feel? Like, and that's how you start really noticing it and really truly depicting how a person is in their character. So I guess it just comes down to some allies, I will say, that claim to be allies don't really be allies. They just be in there for themselves. And then you do have those that are truly out there fighting for, Black women, Black males. Like, it just depends. Like, I done had to cut off some, so it is.
It's a collective of all those things that everyone has said. If you hear somebody degrading me or degrading any woman or Black woman, stand up for me. Tell them, hey, yo, that ain't cool. That's just like the whole being in high school or being in school, period. Like, okay, are you worried about being with the cool crowd, or are you trying to do what's right? You know right from wrong. You know what's up. That's just like how people were waiting for certain celebrities to come out and do this and do that. And it's like, when they do it, then they turn off the comments. No, don't turn off the comments. Let's see what people have to say. Let me know how you want people to feel, and let me see how people feel. This year has been the year of vision. 2020, everybody was looking forward to it for being this, that, and the other. But it's the year of vision. We're honestly and truly seeing everyone for who they really are. We have a president out there that says whatever he wants and is a complete clown. And but we all know he says what he wants, he does what he wants, and does not care. And for anyone who can care less about someone's life, like I said, at the end of the day, just doing the small things, such as speaking up for me when I'm not around. Don't do it just because I'm right there. Do it because it's right for you to do.
And I think, like, to piggyback off of Joy, like, protecting Black women, it's not a fun hashtag. Like, it's not a fad, like, where there's okay, we're doing it. That's what we're doing today, y'all. All right, cool. And then, like, tomorrow we're doing the complete opposite. Like, I don't think that protecting Black women should be like, I don't think it should be a thing. Like, it should be something that's second nature. Like, it shouldn't be something that they're coming together and they're saying, hey, this is what we're going to choose to do. I think that it's something that you should be born with that. You should want to protect Black women, especially Black men, because your mother is Black. You have somebody Black a Black woman in your life that is important to you, that has something to do with where you are today. So I just hate when they make protecting Black women a cool thing on social media for a few days, and then something happens and they get distracted, and then once it's cool again, they come back to it. Right. So, like, I just think it's about being consistent with it, being genuine with it, and making it more a part of your life than, making it a checklist. Like, oh, did I protect Black women today? It should be something that you're doing without even thinking about it.
Right. Absolutely, Chanel. I totally agree with you. It should become second nature to you. You shouldn't even have to think about, am I protecting a Black woman today? And you don't go out and looking for, hey, let me go find this Black woman to protect. No, if you see something, say something, do something, stop what's happening. Just like we protect you, we want that reciprocated back to us. You never had to ask us not one time to go protect that Black man, or go protect, stand up for what's right, or or speak up, or anything like that. It's second nature to us. You never have to really ask, especially when it comes to being a Black female in the media industry. How important is it during this time to pretty much stand your ground and just, you know, speak up, or just pretty much just be in that space and occupy that space and being in the sports media during a time like this?
I think it's very important. What can I say? Is with us being in media, I feel like for me personally, I'm always going to be true to who I am as an individual, as a Black woman, and as a woman in general. I've always been the outspoken one. I hate to say it, even during my internships, I was very outspoken. There's just certain things, I think also because of the way I grew up. Like there's just certain things I'm not gonna let you think that because I'm the only Black person in this, I'm not even just gonna say Black woman, but the only Black intern in this, I guess you could say, environment, that you're not gonna treat me any differently. You're not gonna make me do something different than my other white counterparts. So I think I'm known, I'm very vocal. Like if I don't like something, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna make sure that whatever happens then, and if it's not right, you're going to know. I'm not gonna wait, you know, later down the road. And I think within this industry, it's hard. It's very hard. One incident I could speak on with the whole Maria Taylor, well, she's been in two that are really big to me. The situation with Nick Saban that happened a couple years ago, where she wanted to interview him. Everybody knows Nick Saban, he's the head football coach of Alabama. Everybody knows he does not like media. He thinks media is evil. He thinks they are just, they lie. So it's just, with the whole situation that happened with her, I thought to myself, well, dang, had that been somebody white, would he have reacted the way that he did? And it goes back to her in this previous situation with the radio host from Chicago. And it's like, Jesus, like for some reason, we can't, as Black women in media, we can't help the way we dress. We can't help the way we're shaped. For instance, the young lady that worked for, I want to say, did she work for WFAA? She was the weather person. They ran her off. She ended up going because of the way she was built. Like, seriously, you're so busy worried about how I look and what I'm wearing that you can't even focus on the content that I'm giving that's going to help you, whether it's healing, if your car is going to get held on. Like that makes a big difference. And I think it's for Black women to be in media in particular. It's like, let's see their weaknesses. Let's nitpick at what they're doing wrong. That's why I feel like we said earlier, no matter what we do, it's never gonna be enough. And that's one of the things that I don't know if y'all know her. Her name is Brittany. She's a women, genders, and studies African-American professor at Rutgers. And she talks about this. It's a book she wrote. I actually wrote it down for y'all if y'all are interested in reading it. But her name is Brittany Cooper, and she wrote Elegant Rage and Black Feminist Discovers the Superpower. It basically talks about the Black woman, whether it's in media, whatever occupation, career path that they're on. And it's basically telling us about our racial inequality within the white supremacy of the system that we basically uphold or that we're in. And we can't help it, because at the end of the day, this society is ran by white men, white male. We have to understand that as Black women, we might be at a lower percentage, but at the end of the day, we're definitely higher knowledgeable than them. So I think that's something when we go in, whether it's media, whether it's becoming a doctor, the medical field, we need to understand that we Black women are the most intellectual group of human beings that there is. And I think with that being said, that should hold a power in fact within yourself when you're going in media, and don't never let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do. And that's just the mentality that I have in when I'm doing my news anchoring, when I'm doing my sports anchoring, my sports analyst, I'll make sure that I'm up on cue. I make sure that I'm I make sure that I'm prepared. That is like the one thing. The moment we go into this not prepared, oh, that's already strike one. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, strike two, because you're a Black woman, so that's strike one. So it's just, you have to make sure you're always on your A game. And when you're on your A game, baby, they can't tell you nothing. No matter the critics that come out, the woodworks, I don't let none of that get to me. I just learned that when I'm in media and I do what I do, and I learn what I do is I go back and I look at critique myself, because at the end of the day, I know what I'm capable of, and I know the type of person, the type of anchor, the type of sports analyst that I'm going to be. And when you critique yourself and you make yourself better, that's all that matters. I love it. I call it Black.
And I think I think it's important for I think it's important for us to be in media right now, especially, like sports in particular as well, because just like during the whole NBA bubble, like Taylor Rooks' content was the best content that was out. She was telling our stories. She was talking to all the athletes. And these athletes, first of all, these athletes are Black. You know what I'm saying? They want to speak to a Black woman. They would love to speak to a Black woman because we know what you're going through. You know how to speak to me. What I care about, you probably care about. And I think that's something that a lot of athletes take for granted because I don't see it talked about enough when it comes to them. Because they need to say, we need more Black. I want to talk to more Black women, because they're the ones that, we have to talk to them. So I think they need to be a little bit more vocal as far as talking to Black women and wanting to talk to Black women, because what they say kind of goes. If they want to talk to Black women, then people are going to hire more Black women. And if we don't have Black women in the sports or in the media field, our stories will never get told. And that's why it's so important for Black women to hold all of these positions everywhere. And whether it's sports, whether it's being teachers, because there's going to be that teacher that lets you know, hey, you wear your hair, you can wear your hair how you want to wear it. We need those teachers. We need those Black women to, uplift the next generation, because without that, then they don't have anything to look forward to. They don't have anything that they can look up to.
Yeah, absolutely right, Chanel. Oh, go ahead, Courtney.
I wanted to piggyback off of Chanel because, the need that she's talking about right now is probably the most I've ever seen it. Like, I'm the only Black woman on the team that I work on, but I can see that I am actually needed because there are stories that are going to fall through the cracks if I'm not the one that's pitching them, because they don't see the things the way I see them. They don't view the world the way that I view it. And, that's why I want Black women to continue, even though right now it's hard, continue to push that envelope. Like, I will say, like, all of my producers, they know they're going to hear my mouth every time we have a meeting. You're going to hear from me. You're going to hear a really Black idea from me. Like, and you know what? But they've really come to appreciate it and to realize that was, something that they were lacking before they had me. Before I was on this show, they had to kind of sit back and say, you know what, we're missing a very major demographic. Like, we weren't getting these kinds of ideas. And that's why I just want all of the Black women that even when we get defeated, and even when things aren't going the way we want them to go, like, know that you are needed and you are absolutely necessary to continuing to telling our stories. Without us, our stories will not get told.
Yeah, it's basically using your platform and still breaking barriers for yourself to show others that you can do it as a Black woman. And then you reach back and you help others in your same position come along the way with you. You don't leave anybody behind. You have to keep breaking barriers.
Absolutely, ladies. And kind of what Chanel and Courtney was speaking about, you need that Jemele Hill. You need her. She's the first lady, first sports person I got on that looked like me on a TV screen with micro braids in her head. I could wear braids. At this point, I could wear braids. She did it. She speak her truth, and she stand by her truth. It may have cost her, her position that she had at one point, but now look at her now. She's in a better position. And now these same, the same sports, the same companies or whatever, now they're looking at her thinking like, hey, I should have listened. If we would have listened the first time, we would have been on top of this already. During this light of the whole social injustice and everything that's going on, everybody now want to take their stands. If we would have listened to her in the beginning, we would have been already ahead of the game, And that's the thing. Now, a lot of these different, organizations and different companies, they are now, more equipped to trying to listen to that Black woman, or listen to that Black male, but more so the Black woman, because they know they are aware of our intelligence. They know that we're very intellectual and we know what we're talking about from those sides, but they are listening. But speaking of the sports industry, as we recover from this pandemic, and now we see sports are starting to get back on a roll, and we also seeing a lot of these different leagues starting to take their stands or showing their support in the pretty much calling out social inequality and police brutality. How do you guys think these leagues are doing? We could give you a few examples as far as, the NBA and the bubble supporting full behind Black Lives Matter. NLB, they're giving out t-shirts that says Black Lives Matter, giving them some time to do things. Even in tennis, our young sister, tennis star, she came out with the mask for every match. And who am I missing? Even with NASCAR, by just acknowledging and taking down the Confederate flag. So how do you guys feel these different leagues are doing with their stands against, you know, police brutality and social inequalities?
I think, yeah, I would say, I think like, exactly, like it's nice, but if we would have, again, if we would have listened or watched the WNBA a few years ago, or if we would have sat and really listened to what Colin Kaepernick was talking about, you know, if we would listen to these Black people and, you know, these Black women, we wouldn't be playing catch up. We wouldn't be, you know, kind of trying to figure out, okay, what is it that we do? What is it that's going on? All right, it's like giving someone the answers for a test, like weeks ahead of time. The test comes, and the night before, they're like up late, they're tired because they didn't study the study sheet that was given 5 weeks ago. And I mean, you know, I'm happy. It's cute, it's nice what these leagues are doing, but I feel like, you know, the WNBA, they were doing this ahead of time, like way before, and everyone was just like, oh, they're just women, what are they doing? Oh, Colin Kaepernick, he doesn't want to play. It's, you know, like, it just, I can't be too happy because it's like, we already saw this. You ignored it. What you're doing is damage control now. And you're only doing it because everyone else is doing it. MLB didn't play because NBA didn't play. It, like, you know, like it wasn't even NBA. It was one team that wasn't going to play. And then the NBA was like, oh, okay, I guess we don't want to play either. Like, it wasn't anything that was genuine. And that's what I see when I'm looking at these leagues. I'm glad that they're doing something, because if they weren't, we would be angry, to be honest. But I just feel like we have to start listening to people, and we have to start trusting our players, trusting our coworkers, trusting our, you know, people that are working for us, because if they would have listened, if they would have watched Colin Kaepernick, if they would have listened to the WNBA, we wouldn't be playing this catch-up game of what's going on. Oh my gosh, everyone's mad, they don't want to watch it. But it's because you're not listening. It's because you think that it's something that it's not, when all you have to do is listen, because this was happening years before, you know, what happened this year.
Chanel makes a great point. And I think to piggyback with that, I think with playing catch up, the Milwaukee Bucks did the best they could at this point in time, because they took it a step further. Like, yeah, the shirts is cute, you know, the kneeling is cute, but to take it further and get the Attorney General involved, to make that phone call, to shut everything down, and then you had the domino effect of everybody else falling in line, but you had to be the one that started. It had to start somewhere. And then now you have stadiums opening up to be, you know, places for voter registration and polling places and things like that. So it has to start somewhere. And so for me, I can really appreciate what the Milwaukee Bucks did in this situation.
Yeah, with that, it's just everyone's trying to figure out that seat at the table on where do I fit in? How do I get this started? How do I do this? And, you know, like with Milwaukee, loved everything about it, because if people remember, Orlando was on the court practicing, waiting for the game to start. And that's the thing that people fail to realize. It wasn't like, oh, we're not going to play because of all the injustice that's going on. So it makes me feel like, okay, are you sincere? Are you truly saying that our Black lives matter? And so it's like, okay, it's cute. You're saying it. You're wearing the shirt. You have the little nicknames on the back, but do you know what those things really mean? You have some people who are on the teams that are Black, but you know, you have a lot of them that come from different countries, and they don't really deal with those type of things. And so it's just, hey, are you really truly understanding what you're saying and what's being plastered around the court? NFL, I'm just like, you're over here saying in racism, but a few years ago, you pretty much blackballed a black man for saying, hey, this is what's happening. It gives you that point of words cannot explain, because it's like, okay, you are the same people that were in the office a few years ago that said this, but now you're saying this. Which one is it? Is it true? Is it true? Are you only doing this because you see someone else doing it? It's like, okay, so is this just for a moment? Are you going to continue to do this? Are you going to continue to say these things? Are you going to continue to advocate for our lives? So.
Yeah, no, I just like all of you have said, like, it's nice to see, but for me, I want to know, are the millionaires and billionaires that own the teams, that own a team full of Black people, are you going to do things that align with the views of the people that literally work for you? Like, are you actually listening, or are you still looking out for your best interest because you have a $1 million company? And like, I get that at the end of the day, but I think that one of the best things about what the Bucks did, like Mia said, you know, they were able to really coordinate with the people in Wisconsin to make some change happen before they were going to step back on the court again. And that's what I think across all of the leagues, that's what I think the messaging needs to be. You need to come in with your action items with, we're not going to play football, we're not going to play basketball, we're not going to do nothing until you do A, B, C, and D.
Absolutely.
And once you really start putting that fire to their owners, especially, that's when I genuinely believe that we'll see some change. Because it, like we said, we saw what happened after one day of everyone in the NBA saying, oh, we're not playing. We saw that it was breaking news. It was, you know, okay, we have to figure out what we're going to do next. So if everybody can keep that same energy, and really, I know that it has to be hard. You know, you want to support your family. You don't want to put anyone else's futures at risk. Of course not. But I do think that it's big enough. I think this is a big enough issue for maybe we could put down one paycheck. Like, you could get the rest of them, but maybe, you know, let's all be on this united front together, and then we'll go from there. But I just know, like, the NFL, like, it is my favorite league to watch. It is my least favorite league just by the way that they operate. And like, I don't know, like, I don't think I can be any really more disappointed in the way that they move. Like, I know what it is at the end of the day, and I feel like, you know, even when it came down to the CBA that the players were negotiating, that like 500 players didn't even read it. So, you know, we have to keep that in mind when we're asking for things like this. We have to keep in mind that not everybody actually cares. So they're not going to do the right thing sometimes because they don't actually care.
Courtney, you hit it right there, because the NFL is such a disappointment to me when it comes to this issue, because the majority of the entire NFL as players, you guys are Black. And, you know, and you had someone that sacrificed his entire career to stand up for what was right, and you guys did not really rally behind him. It took a situation like what happened this year for you guys to even put a name on the back of your helmet, you know, and to hear, you know, Roger Goodell, for me, I put him up in the same category as Trump a lot of times, because he's not going to, you know, genuinely stand up and say, hey, this is not right, or hey, I support my players for what they really care about, because why? My players make up the mass majority of my organization, you know. And so it's really disappointing to watch, because we all love the game of football. Football is American sport, but, you know, I guess besides baseball or whatnot. But for us, it's America's sport, you know. And to see like all of our brothers and people that go out and they play week in and week out, and just for them taking a knee during the national anthem, they get torn down and they get all this type of flack on social media from people. And hey, but you just cheered for me for scoring this touchdown. But you mad at me because I'm taking a stance for something that I believe in wholeheartedly. And then we have people, and I would say I am more proud of the WNBA, but WNBA, they've been doing their thing. But more proud of the NBA for really kind of sticking with their stance, because you have owners behind their team. You have, you know, GMs and general managers and people behind their team. You have the bubble pretty much behind the movement. And not only are they advocating for the social injustices, they're also advocating for, hey, go out and vote. Make sure you vote. During every post and interview, they're talking about voting, or they're talking about Breonna Taylor's, or they're talking about the George Floyd's of the world. They're making sure their voices are being heard. But then you also have the critics that want to tell them to shut up and dribble, or shut up and run the ball. So when does those two things collide? Is it possible, I guess I would say, to go ahead and be a part of the solution and doing your job? Like, when does that collide? Like, is it possible to still use your platform and stand up for what you believe in, but still do your job?
I think
it's possible. You're going to have criticism either way, though. So it's very possible, and you have to stand up for what you believe in, because at the end of the day, it is a job, and you still have to come home and live this Black life. You know, so and you have family members who have to live the same thing, and so you have to be willing to take a stand for yourself and your family, and then your brothers and sisters, you know, whom you might not even know. You have to be willing to stand up for that.
I believe you can coincide with those things, but like Mia said, it is hard, because at the end of the day, you're going to get criticized one way or another. You get the, oh, shut up and dribble, and, you know, just play the game. And then it's on the Black side, it's like, but you're not speaking up, you're not doing enough, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. So it's like, it doesn't matter what you do. You want, as a player, you want to use your platform, and, you know, especially when you have this following, for people to actually listen, like, hey, this is what's going on. Let's start to change some things. Let's do this, let's do that. But like I said, you'll never be able to please everyone. It's always going to be down the middle in a 50-50 thing. You can never please everyone.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's definitely feasible. I think it just comes with sacrifices, and it comes down to, are those athletes willing to sacrifice their money? Are they willing to sacrifice, and at some point it could be their life? And I think that's something that they need to understand as a Black athlete. Just because you, and I had to, when I went to LSU, that was one of the biggest things I've seen. This is a white organization. Most of the people on there are Black. It's just, I have to tell them, you do realize that, what if you was just a Black kid that came here on an academic scholarship, would you still have the same privileges as being the Black athlete? Would you still have white people in your faces cheering you on, saying, hey, go this, go that, and then later on, you know, you don't have the ball anymore? So I think it comes to, there was a couple people that I know who are now in the league from LSU who actually opted out of playing in order to, who actually took a pay cut to basically focus on the social injustice that's going on in society. You do have those athletes that feel like social justice is more of a priority than actually getting on the field or getting on the court, whatever their athleticism skill is. But I think it just comes with the most thing is sacrifice. And you have LeBron James, he's very vocal, always been vocal. And you have to realize he's also a leader in the NBA. He's one of those, a lot of the younger athletes, even people that's OGs that's been in the game, also look up to. So he's very vocal on social media. Does he get backlash? Yes. It's part of being a Black person. It's part of being a Black male. It's part of being a Black woman. You're going to get backlash regardless. If you're not doing what the white folks want you to do, then it's going to be some type of, you know, negative standpoint on it. So I think it just comes with sacrifice. And with what we said earlier about the organizations, the NBA, the NFL, WNBA, when it comes to the NFL, I think it's a money decision. It's definitely a business transaction. We've always said that. That's always been the case. We can look at the Cowboys, Jerry Jones. We've always called him the slave master, like, of his team. when, I mean, I don't know y'all, but I definitely do.
I literally, this was about to be my point. So.
Right, yeah, I was about to say, I love the Cowboys dearly, but as far as the organization as a whole, I hate it. I don't really care for Jerry Jones. I think it's time for him to give it up anyways, but who he's going to give it up is no better. So I think it's more of like a business transaction. We have to look at, like, if I say jump, you should say how high. That's really how the motto goes when it comes to these athletes. And they don't understand the privilege that they have. Like you were saying earlier, Chanel, about the advantages that these black athletes have into using their platform to speak on a lot of these social injustice circumstances that are happening to our black women and black men. It's like, okay, if I don't want to talk or I don't want to speak on it, then it's just what it is as an athlete. You had athletes that were going to interviews, justice for Breonna Taylor, justice for Breonna, like every answer was justice for Breonna Taylor. That's how you use your platform. And I think that goes back to tie in with your question about if it can collide. It could definitely collide. It's just how much is the athlete willing to go far, or would they feel like their image or their reputation would be tarnished? And I think that's one of the big things overall. So.
And I think, to piggyback off what you're saying, I think that the reason why sometimes athletes don't want to use their platform, or, they don't feel the need to, because, and this is people in general sometimes, because it does not directly affect them, but that's what makes it different to be a woman, specifically a Black woman, because we have that compassion, we have that compassion bone in our body where it doesn't really matter if it's affecting us or not. Like, we know right from wrong, and we're going to stand in our truth, which is why we see, again, everything that has happened during this pandemic, during this social injustices. It's been Black women on the front line doing what they needed to do. Not just the WNBA, because if you think about the WNBA, they all had Breonna Taylor on there, but there was no confusion. Like with the NBA, some people were kneeling, some people were standing, some people had "Love Us," some people it just looked like they weren't together. But the WNBA, they all had Breonna Taylor, they all kneeled, they were on one accord. When the Jacob Blake shooting happened, they were going to play because nothing changed with them. They were going to come out in their bullet, when they had like the bullets on the back of their t-shirts, because they run as a well-oiled machine. When you watch Naomi, for her tennis match, she already knew what her role was. She was going to do, she was going to wear her mask, and that's what she was going to do. With women, or with Black women, there's no thought about it. Like, this is what we're going to do. And it's, it's from right from wrong. Like, we're just going to do it this way. We don't care what people think. We don't care, what other people are doing. We don't care if it's directly affecting us, but this is right and this is wrong. And this is how we're going to go about it. And I think sometimes men and, sometimes they have trouble, like, connecting to something if it's not directly affecting them. Now everyone, that's why Kaepernick was kneeling, because this social, we didn't watch somebody die. How many times you got to watch somebody die on, like, for you to realize why was it so important for him to be kneeling? Now it's affecting you, because like, oh wow, I can be just like, now owners are speaking out and they're showing their ignorance. So now athletes are like, wow, I guess I'm not, I guess I can be a George Floyd. I guess I can be a Jacob. Like, yes, you can. So now it's affecting them. And now they're, they're kind of using their platform, which is great. But I think that's why sometimes certain athletes have trouble using their platform, because it doesn't click to them. If it doesn't directly affect them, it's not something they see needs to be done.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna say one more thing. Speaking back off of Chanel, I think it also comes to a more of a security thing. Like, I'm an athlete. People know who I am. People know, like, if I get pulled over by the cops, for some people it works, for some people it don't. If I get pulled over by the cops, I'm like a player, like, that's known, like, let's say I'm LeBron James. I get pulled over by the cops, I'm most likely probably gonna get off because I am LeBron James. And I think a lot of the Black athletes might get into a sunken place of being a athlete, where they forget that they are Black men. They forget their role in society. Like, when you get off that court, you're a Black man. At the end of the day, when you're on that court, you're a Black man. When you go home to your family and you're Black, you're a Black man. So I think that's one of the things that I think it's more of an identity issue that needs, that a lot of these athletes need to understand and really open up to saying like, dang, even though I might be a Black man, I have a privilege over other Black men that, you know, are just, you know, mechanics or just doctors or firefighters. Like, they need to understand it. And I think that's also another thing that we as Black women, we've always known that we're Black women. That's something back in the day since slavery. We're the caregivers. We've always been the caregivers. We've always been the people, like you mentioned earlier, Sequoia, that we're in the front line. It's just, we have to, that's how Black women are, we're nurturers. So we're always going to take up for the Black men. But it's sometimes I kind of question, and I don't know if this is something that y'all deal with, but I kind of question, dang, does the Black man really have my back the way I have theirs? And it's always a debate on social media. Like, you have to realize, especially when it comes to dating preferences, as far as, okay, can you really understand for like Daniel Cameron? He's dating a white woman. Can you really understand, even though your mom's Black, you chose somebody to, not saying that it matters, but it does. Because it's like, how can you be for me when you're too busy basically being a clown for your white side of the family? That's what I have an issue with. And I don't know, this is a conversation that needs to be had, that I tend to have debates with on Twitter, and I try not to take it there. But at the end of the day, I'm a Black woman. I'm gonna always stand for my Black men. But sometimes I do question my Black men, and I have to sit down and it can be conversations that you should have with Black men in your family, in your group, your friends. How do they feel about Black women? You'd be surprised. You would. So it's just, that's one of the things that I feel on. I know I tend to like really, I connected it all. That's all I'm saying.
It's okay. I totally agree with you. And just to pretty much sum all of everybody's input or whatever together, I would say that it goes back to just, you know, okay, this Black athletes, we could take football or basketball, for example. This Black athlete, he's great. He's amazing. He may came from from poverty, you know, or from a situation where he just have to get out. He's only solely relying on his talents and his skills. He get a scholarship to this big white university, this big D1 school or something like that, where yes, he about forgets that he could be a George Floyd, or he can be a Jacob Blake or something like that, because why they're praised at these big schools. They don't get treated like your average, you know, Black guy that's in nursing school or that's going for electrical engineering or something like that. They get praised at these bigger schools. So once they make it to that next level, it really doesn't affect them now, you know, because I have a lot of white friends, or I have a lot of people that support me that's this color. They give me money. The boosters, they, you know, everybody, they supports me. They support your craft. They support what you can do for them. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's not necessarily they see me as me. And at the end of the day, when you're in your civilian clothes and out of that uniform, you are a Black man. Mm-hmm. You know,
or like so a bad game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of that goes with that. And even with them choosing that other side, it's when you get to a certain status, they feel as though that's what they have to do. And it's, you know, we can go on and on, but I was told we have to wrap this up, guys. Go on and on. We can go on and on about that one, but so we have to wrap it up. So I just want to thank all of you ladies for joining us on this panel today. It was amazing. I wish we can do something like this about at least once a month. We're gonna talk to Tony about it. I know. Absolutely. So I thank all of you for watching. I want to give a special thanks to Exposure and Spot on Sports for putting this on for us, and just for, you know, thank Tony, because you're thinking about us ladies in the sports industry, and we really, really appreciate it, because a lot of times our voice is not heard, and this was giving us that platform, the opportunity to let our voice be heard, and we really, really appreciate that as well. And we want to thank all of our viewers for watching today, all the people that supported us and reposted our flyer. We really appreciate y'all. We love y'all. And if you want to watch this video, if you did not catch the beginning of the video, this video will be posted on our social media, our YouTube page, and our Facebook page and Instagram, as well as Spot On Sports. And once again, I am Sequoia, and thank you guys for watching, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.